So the activity for today, guys, is the reason for it is kind of twofold. We need to kind of review scientific method a little bit, okay, and remember how a proper experiment works, okay? Obviously, it has a manipulated variable, a responding variable, controlled variables, okay? But beyond that, something that we haven't had to think about very much is an experimental group and a control group, okay? So in every experiment, you always have two groups, okay? You have your experimental group that has the manipulated variable being changed for them. And then you have the control group, which is like the natural condition. Nothing is being changed. They are there to act as a comparison, right? So if I'm testing the effect of like a new allergy medication, as you know, like a pharmaceutical company or something, I would have a group of people that would be my experimental group who would be receiving various dosages of the allergy pill. So they're getting the manipulated variable in some form. And then I would have people that are getting a placebo. Okay, that means they're getting a sugar pill and it has no effect on them other than they think they're getting a pill. Okay, so I then would compare the results afterwards and say, okay, so the people in the control group, they sneezed and had runny noses and itchy eyes the whole time, and the people who took my pill felt lots better. That means my pill works. Okay, if my results instead say the people who didn't take my pill felt a little bit better, the people who took my pill felt a little bit better, my pill doesn't work because they just had the placebo effect, which is I gave them a pill and told them they feel better, and they did. Right? There's actually a real thing called the placebo effect. Okay? You give somebody a sugar pill and tell them it's going to make them feel better, and it's mind over matter. They'll feel better. Okay? That's what the control group tells you. Did the thing you changed actually have any effect or not? But to know that, you have to have a control group. Everybody follow me there? Okay. All right, so in this activity, you're going to be completely designing a lab experiment to study the effect of a variable of your choice on the growth of plants. That's why the other day we went over factors that affect plant growth. You can choose anything, okay, that could affect the growth of a plant, okay? The amount of light, the type of soil, the color of the light, maybe the water, maybe you can put additives in it, whatever you want to try. Okay, you can think up whatever your manipulated variable is going to be, as long as you think it could have an effect on the plant. And I've seen some really creative manipulated variables. Okay, I think the best one was the person that was going to talk, shout, swear, and read children's stories and sing to various plants to see which one would work best. Okay, and their control group was the plant just, no one talked to it, no one did anything to it, it just grew, right? And it was a good experiment. They did a really good job on the design of it, and it was a good manipulated variable. So you can think up kind of whatever you want. They're mostly looking at the design of your experiment, not whether your manipulated variable would really have any effect, although it has to be somewhat reasonable. Okay. All right, so the variable could be nutritive, amount of water or sunlight, could be conditional, you're orienting the plant, okay, things like that. Okay, the first thing that should appear in this experiment is an abstract. Okay, and an abstract is just a short, very short, like 2 or 3 sentences, paragraph that says, here's what I know about the growth of plants, and this is what my research might be useful for. It's kind of a sales pitch. Okay, because in real science, if you're going to get funding for research, you've got to sell your research. It sounds awful, but you do. Okay, in order to get money, somebody's got to fund you, and they're going to want the results of your research afterwards. So if you ever thought that being a scientist was a quick way to get rich, it isn't. Okay, because if you find the cure for the common cold, whoever funded your research is going to get rich off of that. Okay, and you're going to get a warm feeling inside, and that's about it. Okay, so you have this abstract that says, here's what I know about the growth of plants, here's what I'm going to test, and this is an application of it. Okay, so it's like 3 sentences, one sentence for each of those things. Okay, everyone follow there? I didn't see a lot of people type that, but okay. So an abstract is a description of what you know, okay, etc. So we've talked about that. In other words, you're telling me what you know about plant growth and explaining how your experiment will show your idea is correct. Okay, other than that, the experiment will follow the same pattern as any other lab we have done in this class. All right, so you'll have a problem, you'll have your design, so your manipulated responding controlled variables, and that's all in your thing there. Okay, it's all kind of set up for you already. Then your hypothesis, then materials. All right, you're going to have to come up with a list of materials that would be required. Okay, and they can be as simple as pots, soil, right? plants, maybe name a type of plant. Are you going to use beans or, or whatever? Because the type of plant you choose could be dependent on what you're testing, right? I probably don't want to run this test on sapling giant sequoias because I probably won't live long enough to see the effects of my experiment unless it kills them outright in a couple of days, right? So something like that. You got to kind of have to consider what plants would be best, okay? And like things that grow quickly are a good idea, vegetables and things like that. Okay, so state a problem, have a hypothesis, make a list of materials you would need, and then a detailed procedure that includes descriptions of activities that will occur and measurements that will be taken. Okay, so descriptions of activities and measurements. You need to tell the person, this is what you're going to measure, this is how you're going to measure it. Okay, everybody follow? And it's probably going to be, more than one thing. And there can be qualitative observations and quantitative observations, just like we're doing with the plant growth lab. Okay, we're taking some quantitative observations, how much water is in the graduated cylinder, and we're taking pictures of the plant. That's qualitative. Okay, it's not really a measurement, but we're making some observations and saying the dye moved into the leaf or whatever. Okay, everybody kind of follow there? So you can talk about both. Right? What I mean by detailed here is in the procedure, you need to make sure you are making a controlled experiment. So when you write out your controlled variables, part of the procedure is making sure the person who runs your experiment actually runs a controlled experiment by controlling those variables. So if I was doing the lab I described there where the person was trying all the different ways of talking, shouting, cursing, singing, reading, whatever to the plant, right? They would have to make sure that all the plants got exactly the same soil, the same type of soil, the same amount of water, all that kind of stuff. Okay, you need to basically set up that, all right, here's what you're going to do for each of the plants. They're going to get this much of this, and they're going to get this much of this, and they're going to get this much, this often of this, and so on. Okay, everyone follow there? So part of your procedure is setting up the experiment. The other part is, here's the observations to make, and that's where it ends. Okay, you're just designing the experiment. You're not running it. So you've got no analysis, no conclusion, okay, no observations because you're not actually running it. Okay, you're just setting up basically the first half. Well, yeah, that's what the procedure is. Yes, you're not actually going to have any observations, right? You're not going to have anything to analyze because you have no observations. So no conclusion, no evaluation. All right. So basically, you're just doing the first half of an experiment, writing it up for me. That makes sense to everybody? Okay, you got all class to do it. I expect that it is done at the end of class. Okay, I have made the due date 9:58. All right, so you should have no problem getting that done. Okay, have at her.